So everyone, welcome to LEAP. My name is Agnes. I hope you recognize me from the previous webinars, but I'm part of the operations team here at LEAP. Thank you so much for joining us and submitting your questions. It's also really lovely to see some familiar attendees. So before we get into our webinar, I just wanted to go through some rules that we have. So just please mute your audio and please turn off your camera so we can focus on our lovely panelists. For the Q&A, if you have really urgent questions, feel free to drop them off in the chat box. We have our panelists and our exec team here at LEAP who can answer if they would, who can answer them. Otherwise, if you can leave the questions until the very end. We do have an open Q&A session, open Q&A period. Sorry. So let's get into it. But anyways, I'm pretty sure all of you guys know who LEAP is. For anyone who is new, LEAP's mission really is to just equip students with the knowledge, skills, and connections that students like yourselves would need to bridge the gap between high school and post-secondary. So let's just get into introducing our panelists. So the first one is Matt. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, my name's Matt. I'm a third-year business student at the Ivy Business School at Western University. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer here at LEAP, so I work with the internal team to make sure we have all of the resources and all of the personnel that we need to make these panels a success. I also sit on the board of directors for the Student Council at Western. I do some pro bono consulting on the side, and I love playing and officiating sports, reading, and trying new things.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. Garvin's next.
Yep. Hi guys, I'm Garvin and I'm second year. I'm going into honor specialization in genetics and biochemistry at Western University. So I'm a VP of Finance of Canadian Youth Outreach Program. Is one of my initiatives I start to reach out to like immigrants, students around Canada to help them to get used to like the cultures and maybe teach them English. And homeless Western, so like the city of London to distribute like hygiene kits to the homeless. And yeah, I love playing guitar, piano, working out, and play tennis.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool. I love playing tennis as well. Awesome. Thank you, Garvin. Next up is Peter.
Developer intern at SAP, and before that, last year I worked at a local startup called Trulio as a quality assurance engineer. And what I like to do is I just like to watch soccer games and basketball. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Next one we have is Neetu.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neetu. I'm entering my second year at McMaster, studying molecular biology and genetics. I'm the co-president of a mental health club at McMaster. I'm also on the STEM Powering Canada, which is just a STEM education startup that just recently got off the feet. I love to drink coffee. I am a note-taking enthusiast and I love to sing.
Awesome, thank you, Neetu. Okay, so let's get into our panel discussion. So first up we have is just about learning. So what is the best way to prepare for first year courses? Are there any online courses that you would recommend taking? Neetu, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things that I saw that really helped me prepare for first year was to just brush up on my prereq courses from high school. You know, whenever they list prereqs, they're usually there for a reason. And the university just basically wants you to familiarize yourself with the topics and subjects that are taught beforehand, just so you can better keep up with the fast-paced environment that university has. Not to be scared of that, but it's just good to know and familiarize yourself with a lot of the terms and things that you'll be learning or relearning for a second time in university. And second, one thing that I think would really help a lot of you guys is to learn a little bit more about Excel. I was very surprised by how much I had to use Excel in first year, especially considering I had to use it for a lot of my lab courses. And I did have some previous experience with it, but I wasn't too sure about how to properly format a graph or use the functions. So familiarizing yourself with stuff like that through courses like on LinkedIn or on YouTube are super easy ways to just make sure you're moving a little faster and just easing your time in university.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, especially Excel. Garvin, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. So some courses that I recommend taking during the summer is like some coding courses offered by Harvard University. So most of the courses are free and they have all kinds of levels like beginner, intermediate, advanced. Especially it's super helpful for like those who are going into computer science major or like interested in doing computer science. So for me, first year is like pretty much review of the high school, but a little bit more in depth. So you learn a little bit of like this and that and more in depth of that course. And especially for me, it's calculus. Like this just full on like review of the high school calculus. So I did really good in calculus during my first year.
Yeah, no, I think a very universal course in first year is calculus that everyone really needs to take. So definitely reviewing that high school, what you learned in high school as well, can be very beneficial. Thank you. So the next question is, are there any note-taking or studying strategies to prepare for university? Is there any like specific frameworks that you would recommend or templates you would recommend kind of getting used to before you get into university? Garvin, you can continue on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So for me, the most like effective studying strategy is like studying a concept. So by making connections between lessons or making graphs to like easier to visualize when you recall the concept. And when what I recommend is not memorizing everything, because the amount of knowledge that you have to memorize is really, really much. Like you cannot memorize all of it. So study concept and study bit by bit every day. So like don't cram within 1 week, or like don't pull an all-nighter before the exam. I actually have a friend, like she pulled an all-nighter before the math exam, and she ended up like sleeping through the exam. So like she missed the exam. So like, yeah, there we go. So don't pull an all-nighter, guys. And yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's a really good tip.
I know, right?
Okay, Neetu, would you like to add on?
Yeah, I think something that definitely changed in my note-taking style or just studying strategies going from high school to university was definitely taking a more active stance. And instead of just passively reviewing over notes or lecture slides, I think doing a lot of practice problems really helped me a lot more. And it took me more than half of the year to figure this out. So definitely just taking a more active stance on my learning and actively applying everything that I've learned in class to a lot of the problems that we were doing. And it really helps with test taking, especially since you're going to be taking a lot of exams that require you not just to just pull information out, but to also apply it. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so just definitely do expect to some change a little bit about your note taking or studying strategy when you go into university, because a lot of university students in their first year, that's like you spend a lot of time transitioning for sure. Thank you. Going to the next one, what apps are used in university or to communicate with profs? Me too. Go ahead.
Yeah, so McMaster uses Avenue to Learn, but I am sure that it differs between universities. And it's just basically a platform where most of your courses will be put up and you can access a lot of your course content, like the syllabus or any quizzes that you may need to take or any worksheets that your professor will post for you. Usually in these classes, your professors will post their preferred method of communication, but definitely one place that you can almost for sure find it is in your syllabus. So be sure to check for your syllabus for your prof's information, your TA information, and anywhere that you can just basically have any questions, it'll tell you where to direct them through there. And as well, a few set of apps that I found really helped me in university were the Microsoft Office app, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And a lot of people, surprisingly, I found out didn't know this, but you can actually access them for free using your student email. So definitely don't pay for a subscription, just log in using your student email and you'll have access to all of them.
Yes, that's so important. Yeah, so your university should be providing Microsoft Office apps for free for you. So that's really nice to save a lot of money. Garvin, would you like to add on to that?
Sure, yeah. So for my university, I mean, for most university, like I think Outlook is the most common platform where the prof or like send out announcements for you. You can log in through like your school emails, like at UW or at queensu.com. And yeah, for Western, we have an academic platform where you can submit assignment, you rewatch lectures. It's called OWL, like an animal, like OWL for Western. And the similar platform for Queens is called OnQ. Moreover, so professor usually have like some kind of participation mark where you can just go into and like use this app. Like it's called iClicker. It's the app like exactly similar to Kahoot, like if you're familiar with that app. So it's like they're gonna put up like the question on the board, and then each person like sign in using iClicker, and it just for participation mark. It's usually free mark if you go to class.
Awesome, thank you, Garvin. Peter, would you like to add in, because you're from UBC as well? Is there a specific app that UBC uses?
Yes, of course. So yeah, so for general courses, we do have an app or website called Canvas, where basically all the classes you register will be included on the app. And also most professor will put their syllabus, assignments, grade distribution, and all the course material on Canvas. And also we have a student TA professor forum called Piazza, which is like on Piazza where you have each class as a small forum, kind of like a subreddit. And you can just ask questions and interact with students and other people like staff in the course if you want. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. I'm just going to give this question to Garvin. How do you find required textbooks?
So for required textbook, I usually post on the university Facebook groups, or maybe I ask seniors, like, don't guys, just reach out to another seniors in the school, because it's like, so in the first year, I end up spending like 1,500 on textbook, and I end up like not using any of those. So like just ask around, guys. You will like save a lot of money for like textbook, because some courses you don't really need textbook, but the prof tell you to buy it anyway, so you ended up not using it. So like it's kind of a waste of money. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, no, definitely do reach out. There's a lot of Facebook group chats about kind of like textbooks and things like that. A lot of people at university are so helpful with that. They're willing to help you, and sometimes they'll give you like their textbooks that are very like second-handed, so you don't have to waste like thousands of dollars on textbooks. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, so for me too, are there any book recommendations for the summer?
Yeah, one thing that I would definitely recommend looking into is an autobiography of someone that you look up to. And I think that university is definitely a time where all of us are starting to flourish and discover our new selves. And it's a good thing for us to just take examples from people that we admire, because that's the best way for us to learn. I'm currently reading Stephen Hawking's autobiography, so I'm looking into that. So definitely take examples from the people that you look up to, and you'll discover more about yourself in the process.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really solid advice. Thank you, me too. And then just the last one for learning. So what should our attendees do for the remainder of the summer if their original plans were canceled? So for example, their work or their volunteer or work experience got canceled due to COVID, or traveling plans got canceled. So me too, would you like to continue?
Yeah, for sure. So this is basically the story of my life. I had a bunch of things planned for the summer, and unfortunately, a lot of them were canceled, but better safe than sorry. So I took it upon myself to just keep myself busy. I'm that type of person that likes to get things going all the time. So I actually started a passion project. I really love creative writing, and I found that I wasn't able to do a lot of it when I was in university. A lot of what I was writing was just formal papers or scientific papers, and I wasn't really able to express my creative side a little bit. So I decided to start my own blog, and one of the reasons why I decided to do that was because I really love to give advice, and I love to make sure that people don't make the same mistakes I did, especially when they're easily preventable. So that's one of the things that I like to focus on in my blog, and I would just hope to inspire everybody else here today to start their own passion projects. Find something that you really like to do and stick with it and run with it, because you really don't know your potential until you give it a try. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out. Second thing was, this is actually such a good time to start looking out for university club applications. So on your class page, so for example, whatever university you go to, you'll probably have the class of 2024 page. So definitely look out for some clubs who are starting to advertise open positions for applications, and you can definitely find some things that you're interested in, because there's such a wide range of clubs available at every university, and you're bound to find something that you like. So now is the time where a lot of exact applications will go out, especially during the beginning of the year. The first couple of weeks, clubs are definitely looking to build their team and get their team off the ground. So look out for those.
Yeah, no, I definitely think a lot of our attendees are looking for like those leadership roles potentially in their first year. So just definitely watch out for any clubs that really interest you on the Facebook pages and stuff. So they do release kind of, I'm pretty sure a lot of clubs do have those summer dinners that are happening currently, and then their director roles will open, those applications will open in September. So definitely take a look at that. Garvin, would you like to add on?
Sure, yeah. So this summer, everything got canceled, right? So if you cannot do volunteer in person, so why don't you do online volunteer like this? So like, it's always be a good plan if you do online volunteer, like you can apply to be a mentor to like, or tutor to like teach like younger children online. Yeah, it's always be good for you, because this volunteer experience that you have will be like a big like access for the clubs in university to access you for the position that they're opening if you end up applying for them. And the second one is, if you cannot like going out or work, you can work on yourself, like working out at home, or like do sport in your backyard, do badminton with your dad or your sister or your brothers. And if you're lucky enough, like me, you can find a job. So like, yeah, go to work.
Fair, yeah. No, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Obviously, hopefully, if you do have time, do something on your like passion projects or just online volunteering. They are going to be really helpful for you when you do apply for either an exec role or a director role in university too, if you want to look into that. Thank you. So we're going to go into the next section of our discussion. So this is about personal branding. So what does personal branding even mean? So I can open that up to Matt.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes down to personal branding, it really comes down to this one thing, and it's, what do people think when they think of you? So if you say, hey, that guy Matt, he was a panelist at LEAP, maybe that's my personal brand for you. But for someone else, it might be, oh, he's knowledgeable about X, Y, or Z, right? And that's the thing when it comes down to personal branding, and it's something that you're subconsciously building every day. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're building out a LinkedIn profile, or that you have a YouTube channel, or that you're a vlogger, or anything like that, right? It can just be any of your conversations that you're having, any, teachers when they think of you, friends when they think of you, like, hey, that person's reliable, or that person's hardworking. That's your brand that you're really building, and it follows you throughout your entire life, both your personal and professional journeys. So it's definitely something to keep in mind and consider kind of when you're making decisions throughout your life. How is that affecting your personal brand, and what are others thinking of when they think of you?
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Peter, would you like to add on or provide maybe a detailed example of yourself, like your own personal brand or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I totally agree with what Matt says. Yeah, so it's basically your value, your knowledge, your skill, personality is very important, but also sometimes I think in terms of personal and professional relationships, you might want to tweak how you want to portray your personal branding a little bit. So especially if you want to look for a job, then you probably want to focus more on showing your professional side of personal branding. So what kind of skill set you have, maybe show that you're a team worker, you're a good listener, you can work and learn everything on your own, but you're also keen to communicate with each other, which is very important. Although, like from a software background, like I'm sure most people think like we're just kind of introverts and don't want to talk, but that is not true, which means that pretty much every single company right now is looking for a person that can work in a team. That it's very important. Yeah. So think about that. It's very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt and Peter. Going on to our next question. So kind of going off about personal branding, how do you stand out or maybe develop your branding narrative in a networking situation or to someone you just met? Matt can go ahead first.
Yeah, so a couple of things there on the screen. First off, providing value. And this is something that I think a lot of young professionals and a lot of students struggle with, or that they don't realize that, what can me being in my teens or in my 20s provide of value to someone who's maybe, in their 30s or deep into their career. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're offering them a job or that you're solving their biggest challenge in their line of work, right? It could be something like, say someone's really interested in cars and you find a cool article online about cars. And so you send them the link to that article and say, hey, I thought of you when I read it, thought you would enjoy it, kind of thing. Doing something like that, or providing someone with song recommendations or book recommendations, anything like that where you're providing value to them so they're getting something out of the conversation rather than you just, trying to get a job out of them or trying to talk to them to learn more about their job. Because obviously they might not be too interested in what you're up to as a student. Not everyone will be, but they'll definitely be interested in, if you have something that they enjoy that you can provide value to. Another thing to think about is to be curious. So to ask lots of questions and make them specific questions, make it about themselves, So just not asking, hey, do you like your job? Be like, ask something specific about your job. So do your research, look at their profile, look at the company they work at, and ask them about a specific problem they're working on or a specific industry. That shows that you've done your research and that you genuinely care about the person you're talking to, and you're not just pulling, Googling interview question or networking question, just copying and pasting it in, right? You really want to cater that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. That was really solid. Peter, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say, the most basic is introduce yourself, also as a form of providing value. So if you want to network in order to get a job or land a lab role, you kind of introduce yourself and also your academic background. So like if you're in biology, chemistry, or physics, or computer science, the other people know, okay, we do have a common interest, and that will get people's attention. And also it's important to ask a lot of questions, but also, as Matt said as well, ask insightful and useful questions. So when I was at some of the networking events, a lot of people, when they don't know what to ask, they start to ask either rhetorical questions or just repeat what the other guy was just saying, which sounds like you're getting really involved, but it's just kind of showing that you're a bit careless and not very mindful. So ask questions about, for example, the latest technology that you're using. So for computer science, like what kind of language, framework, database you're using. So for biology or chemistry, or what kind of biology, microbiology, or I don't know, yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
so kind of throughout these kind of conversations, you can find yourself and the other person, your interests sort of aligns, which can make a pretty lasting impression. And also, it's very important to ask for the LinkedIn. So I know sometimes like people don't use LinkedIn because they think like it's kind of useless, but it's actually very important because you can meet actually a lot of people from different networks. And also it is a good way when you either graduate or when you're looking for grad school, it's also a good way for you to ask for referrals or maybe lab positions as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Matt and Peter. That was really solid. Yeah, so just, most people in any networking situation, they want you to care about them, right? You want to feel like I'm not just there to really just get a job or something like that. You actually care, you're really interested. And yeah, so going on to the next question. So what ways can I develop an effective portfolio, whether that is like, taking a bit of entrepreneurship or maybe doing your building your own website or blog. So Peter, would you like to just continue?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Again, based on my background in computer science, which is very popular right now, personal project or school projects are very important. I would say personal project over school projects. So, so a few things I want to say is that school projects, probably if you're from the area, around another 1,000, 2,000 students will have the same project on resume, which doesn't make you stand out as much as the others. So sometimes it's good to consider personal projects or like individual projects that make you stand out. And also on your resume, please clearly state the kind of technology that you use. And if it's a group project, also state out that what you did as part of the projects. So in the interview process, the interviewer, when they see these kind of bullet points, will ask questions that are tailored to the stuff you've done. And it's easier for you to answer because if it's like a 6 or 7 people project and you didn't mention which part you did, and they ask about the part of the project you didn't work on and you stumbled on it, then that's like, kind of like a red flag for them. And it's probably decreased your chance of getting the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of when you go into interviews, the interviewer will generally, what they like for you to stand out is that your interests are definitely quite unique. So they'll definitely ask upon that. Yeah, thank you, Peter. Matt, would you like to add on?
No, Peter covered it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so next up, so how does one stay professionally attractive yet individual and unique to potential employers?
Yeah, so building off what Peter just said, you really want to tell your story and figure out what makes you unique. So whether that's a certain experience you had, maybe it was a course you took, maybe it's something that you've done or that you're interested in, what makes you stand out from the hundreds of other people that have applied to the job, right? For me, I've had an interesting exposure to this where I've also been on the other side of the table where I've been looking through resumes and applications as well as applying myself. And, it's really hard when you're looking to fill 1 or 2 positions and you have, 20, 30, 40, even 100 people that have applied, and you go through them and maybe a quarter of them or half of them, their resumes aren't great, so you pull those off to the side, but then you still have a ton of people And obviously people just don't have the capacity to interview everyone and to get to have a chat with everyone. And so you really need to illustrate, what makes you unique and what makes you stand out from everyone else. So figuring out what your story is and how you can craft that story to make you stand out from other people is going to be what gets you ahead and what makes you stand out to potential employers.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with Matt. Just like you can tell that, like I personally found, I did a couple interviews, like I had like a day in HR, but anyways, what I found super attractive as well is just really someone who's really passionate about something, right? You can tell that it's obviously really cliche, quality versus quantity, but it's so true. Like someone who's really passionate about something, and it really stands out to the employer, which is what I found anyways. And Peter, would you like to add on as well?
Yes, as I said before, a team player, but also independent. That's covered. But also, I will say a little bit more on the interview process. So a lot of people, I understand when they go into an interview, they feel nervous and they stumble and they kind of don't know what to do. But I think what's most important, or one trait that you can make a very good impression, is to relax and really, because the interviewer is really not there to grill you or to interrogate you. They're just trying to find out more about you, right? So it's a very good platform to showcase yourself. So being comfortable really first make a good personal impression, and also that it helps you to perform better in their interview process. So I think that is a way to stay attractive, because I don't think many people can really master that easily. And also try to a little bit personal as well. So once you build this kind of professional relationship, maybe ask something outside of the profession as well. So like music or what you did during the weekends. Like people sometimes, or most people, they're willing to share about their life stories, because like why not? Yeah, so it's a good way to connect with them on the personal level as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. That was really solid advice. And then just going to our last question about personal branding, how common is imposter syndrome in university? And so imposter syndrome is just basically you pretending to be someone that you're actually not, essentially faking it till you make it. So I can just open this up to Peter if you'd like to continue.
Yes, imposter syndrome, I think, is very common. And also I think it comes a lot from pressure, either from yourself or your peer or your parents. Like there's just always this stereotype where it's like your parents want you to be a lawyer or a doctor. I've met thousands, or not thousands, but I know thousands of people who in first year when I was at UBC that want to get into pre-med, and they start to call them pre-med. And also in computer science as well, there are literally thousands of students registered in the first year computer science course, sharpening their head, try to get in, but most people just find it's not for them. And sometimes I think you need to tell yourself it's okay if it is really not for you, because there's always stuff for others. So I think it is very important to realize that, because the higher the year you go to, when you have this imposter syndrome, the more miserable your life is going to be, because the course obviously gets harder all the way to fourth year, or even you want to take graduate level courses. And if you do not have a passion for it, I can tell you for sure that you are not going to enjoy your university life for sure.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. Matt, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, honestly, just like Peter said, you gotta find your passion and you gotta follow that passion. And it's okay if you don't know what you want to do or you don't know what you want to study. Pick something, see how it goes, try it out. And if it's not for you, and if you discover something else through an elective or a video that you watch or talking to someone, then that's okay. I have lots of friends who have switched programs, and some have done it after first year, some have done it after second or third year. It's all about finding your passion and following it, and it's never too late to make a change. You see people 20, 30 years into their career making career moves. So for you to say, oh, I've already wasted an entire year of university, now I can't switch programs, like that is not true. Like you're more than welcome to switch programs or to pursue other passions that you're interested in. Because at the end of the day, when you graduate from school and you go and get a job, you want to be sure that you like that job, because yes, at the end of the day, you're trying to make a living and make money to support yourself and your family and to have fun. But you also want to be having fun at work, because then it doesn't make it feel as much like work. And then you're probably going to be more motivated to do better and be successful. So really just finding that passion and honing in on that and following it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a lot of soul searching in university. I totally agree with that. Does Neetu or Garvin, would you like to add on to anything that Matt or Peter said?
Sure. I'm just gonna say that, yeah, Matt is right. Find a job that you like, because I'm having a job right now and I hate it. And every time I go to work, I feel like I'm gonna die at work because like it's so boring and I hate it. So find a job that you like, guys.
I totally agree. Yeah, no, and me too.
Yeah, I just say to make sure that you're pursuing something that you love, of course. And it honestly, what Matt said about not being scared to change your path, definitely true. Make sure you're doing something that you love, because then it won't feel like work.
Definitely. Yeah. And I definitely have my biggest tip is when you're in university, you're going to grow a lot. So definitely explore all the clubs, because maybe what you're learning, you may not have the option to take other courses outside of your program, but definitely through clubs, you're able to maybe tap into a new passion that you have, or just a new interest. Yeah. So thank you. So going on to our next one, really big section of our discussion. So LinkedIn job search, resume, and cover letter. So how can I build a strong LinkedIn profile? So whether that is like, what should I post? Like basically the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. Neetu, would you like to start?
So definitely, I think LinkedIn is becoming more and more relevant to university students. I definitely only started my LinkedIn this year, but I did learn some things along the way that helped me build a good profile for myself. So definitely keep track of your experiences and achievements throughout high school, and now that you're just starting university, keep track of them in like a notebook, or just make little notes of what you've been doing so you can add them to a description, and update your profile frequently. You'll never know when you want to apply for something, and just having an updated profile will help you seem better off to recruiters. Secondly, share posts that interest you. Whenever you have some time, just scroll through some LinkedIn, find some really cool hashtags to follow or organizations to follow, and you'll see that they're posting things that they're doing. And if there's something that particularly interests you, go ahead and share it. It'll help recruiters get to know you a little bit more, and just what your interests are. And also post anything that you've been working on, whether it's big or small. There's nothing that will be too small for you to post, because as long as you put your heart and soul into a project, I can promise you that it will seem amazing to everybody else on the outside. So definitely don't doubt your abilities, and show off what you've been doing, because you deserve it. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Neetu. Garvin, would you like to add on to that?
No, I think need to cover all of my ideas. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Matt or Peter, would you like to add on? Nope. Okay. Awesome. Me too. Did a great job. Anyways, so on to the next question. What's the thought process for choosing which jobs to apply for? And like, I think it's very common, me, myself as well. Like when I was in first year, I was so keen and I was like, I wanted to apply to everything that I could possibly get my hands on. But in reality, that's not very sustainable or even like helpful to myself, right? So Garvin, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So the first thought process, the first step that you think about when you're choosing which jobs that you're gonna apply to is like, do you like it or not? First of all, you like it or not? If you like it, then it's good. But if you don't like it, then don't. So yeah, the second one is you have to look at the job description and to see like if you qualify for that job, because I really like to be a pharmacist assistant, but I don't have enough like qualification for that job. So like I have to change. So yeah, if you have all of those and you like that job, you qualify for that job, then apply for it. Go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Garvin. Matt, would you like to go next?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of, applying to jobs, just making sure that, spinning off of that, obviously don't be applying to things that you're nowhere near qualified for. But if you meet like 9 out of the 10 of the requirements, or it's something that you're super, super passionate about, then don't let that stop you. A lot of the times there'll be requirements put in place, but if that job doesn't get a lot of applicants, or if you have a really amazing profile and an amazing resume, and you're maybe just missing one skill, or you haven't learned one piece of the job, that's something that they can always teach, right? You can't teach passion and you can't teach soft skills, but if it's a software that you haven't worked with before, or maybe something that you could easily just read or learn about online, that's something that they're willing to work with. And so just making sure that you're taking that with a grain of salt when you're looking at the job descriptions, because a lot of times companies will post, they're like, this is what the perfect candidate would look like, and this is like our ideal situation. But in reality, they might not get anyone that applies to that job meeting all of those criteria. So just making sure that you're not necessarily letting it discourage you when you're looking at job descriptions.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to skip on to the next one. So how do you format a resume? Peter, would you like to? Actually, I'll let Peter go first for this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, resume. So yeah, resume is best. Yeah, Garvin said it. One page is usually preferred, but for students, sometimes they can be okay with 2 page, but 1 page is also always preferred. And just make sure you clearly state the skill sets that the position that you're applying that is looking for, and just make sure that they pop out. And also really good to have past experience or project that incorporate these kind of skills I've used before, that really show that you can apply these knowledge to your real work. Yeah, I think that is very important. And also education as well, like which school did you go to, and also other experience. So if you do not have a very strong work experience or personal project profile, then you have any volunteering leadership experience that can make a strong point as well on your resume. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Matt, I see that you have a very nicely detailed format. So would you like to explain that?
Yeah, so just quickly running through that, obviously you'll find a lot of resume templates online. Just making sure you're keeping it really basic. If you're trying to do all of these abstract things, companies, when they're skimming through your resume, they're not gonna want to take the time to try and find, Kate, where is this person's education? What year of school are they in? So having your education right at the top is a nice way as a student to just be like, hey, I'm in grade 12, or I'm in my second year of university, just so it's like right there in your face. And then, adding your work experiences, any part-time jobs you've had, any clubs you've been involved in, and then talking about any other activities. So if you worked on any projects, anything like that, adding in a quick one-liner about any skills, technical skills, soft skills that you have. And then some companies will look for languages. So if you speak French, I know that's important with the government, or any other languages that might be of interest to certain companies that maybe deal with a lot of clients and from a certain background. And then having a quick line about interests, So for me, I would put in I enjoy officiating sports, or I enjoy traveling, or I enjoy reading, because that's just something that, again, humanizes your resume. And for the recruiter looking at your resume, they might be like, obviously they're not going to make their whole decision on your interest line, but if it's between you and another person and you've put that you like baking and the recruiter also likes baking, they might lean a little bit more towards your side, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, obviously you can go online and find some resume templates and play around with the ones that work for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter and Matt, for that. I'm just going to give this question to me too. So should I tailor my resume to each job that I apply to? Maybe go into like what things you should put on a resume, what things you shouldn't put on a resume. Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, so definitely, yes, tailor your resume to each job that you'll apply for, because not every job is structured the same, and every recruiter is looking for something different in an applicant. There's no one way for an applicant to look good on everything that they'll do. So definitely, when you're looking for a job that you are interested in, tailor a lot of your experiences that you have specifically to that job. So for example, if you're applying for an office job, put a lot of the experience that you have in administration, any courses that you've taken in school that may help you be better at that job, some skills that you have, but it'll differ for someone who wants to work a retail job or go into research. Not all the skills that you will need for each job are going to be the same. So definitely look for that.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, no, for sure. And employers do like it when you can tell that you did put some personalization to it, because not a lot of people do. So yeah, it is definitely nice to the employer if you do. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
I can just add
and then going on to oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing. There's a lot of resumes at the top have an objective statement. So if you wanted to tailor it specifically for that job, it'll show a little bit more personalization for that job that you're looking for.
Yes, definitely. That's a good point too. I forgot about that. Yeah, the objective statement is a really quick and easy way to really make it personalized to the employer. So our last question for this section is how to write a cover letter. I'm just going to give this off to Garvin first.
Yeah. So I don't have any experience, like I don't have a lot of experience in writing cover letters. So what I did is I just find a template online and I just changed the skill set for each job that I'm applying to. And yeah, change the names of the employers, change job positions. And that's pretty much what I did. But like, guys, if you're good in English, because I'm not good in English, so if you can write in English properly, then definitely write your own, guys.
Sure, thank you, Garvin. Peter, would you like to go next?
Just typing. Yeah. So per cover letter, very important to tailor your cover letter to the job and the company you're applying to. So I know for UBC, we're required to add cover letter, and it is pretty much mandatory to write an individual cover letter for each position you're applying to. So it's very important to tailor to show off your interest, and also to kind of like a way to to showcase yourself. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Peter. Matt, you wrote quite a lot on the slide, so would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, so in terms of the cover letter, definitely something I struggled with in years past. And I've had the opportunity to speak with a couple recruiters, and they gave me a lot of feedback. And what they said was, keep it short. A lot of people will try and fill the entire first page writing a long cover letter, but at the end of the day, people don't really want to read that. They want you to spell out for them, why should we hire you? Because this is their first look at you. And most of the time, your cover letter is going to come before they look at your resume. So you really want to emphasize, pick 2 or 3 skills that from the job description that you have and illustrate to them, this is the skill I have. This is how I've shown it in the past. And this is how I can bring this skill to help your company, So for example, myself, looking at applying to a consulting job, consultants have to solve problems for clients. So I'm going to say, I'm a great problem solver. I've had an opportunity to work with this many clients solving problems, and I can do this for your firm by helping your clients by solving their problems. That way I'm outlining, what the skill is that I have, how I've shown that in the past, and how I can do that in the future to help the company. And that way you're really spelling it out, because they're obviously looking at the job description when they're looking for who they're going to hire. So if you're able to directly cater from your cover letter directly to the job description, that's going to really help you stand out.
Yes, thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, that was a really, really good piece of advice. Yeah, a lot of employers, they have to read so many cover letters. It's really refreshing when something isn't that long. So yeah, definitely. Nitu, would you like to add on into anything?
I definitely have tried to reuse a cover letter before, but just because every job is different, you end up copying and pasting the cover letter and then having to change everything inside of it anyways. So picking and choosing from the job description and basically just tailoring your skills like you did your resume. And except in the cover letter, you have a lot more space to just really emphasize how you demonstrate those skills. So be sure not to just list the skills that you have, but show how you've demonstrated them in the past will really help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nitu. I guess we're ending a little bit earlier.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. I agree. Writing cover letter is very boring and time consuming. So I would suggest write tailored cover letter for the job that you really want to. So like a big company or a dream position, and reuse some of the stuff for smaller or the position you care less about. It help you to save some time as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Yeah. So I guess we're ending a little bit earlier today. So I'm going to check the chat real quick, but this is the time for just really open Q&A. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. I'm going to go through this. Okay, so one person, so Rachel asked, hi, I'm going into first year. Do you suggest already applying to exec positions, or is it better to just join clubs in September as a general member so I can just explore different areas? So yeah, Nitu, would you like to go? Oh, you're on mute.
I was just going to answer that question in the chat, but definitely I think do a bit of both. That's what I did in first year. I applied for general positions for clubs that I wasn't sure if I had a deep interest in, and the ones that I knew I really wanted to be a part of, I applied for exec positions. And usually a lot of clubs will have exec positions such as a first year representative. So they'll give you a chance to just get to know the club and be able to build your way up like that. And they usually do go through an interview process, but that's usually more towards the beginning of the year because they know that first year students probably aren't as familiar with application processes in August or before they start school for higher level exec positions. So definitely do a bit of both.
Awesome. Thank you, Neetu. Does anyone else want to add on to what Neetu said? Okay, I'll go into the next question then because there's quite a lot. So one person asked, should your cover letter repeat what you have said in your resume, or should it extend and add new information not seen on your resume? Okay, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I can do a bit of both. You want to definitely emphasize because whatever you're talking about in your cover letter is probably going to already be on your resume because it's going to be one of your selling points. But it'll give you the opportunity to elaborate a little bit on it. And so instead of just having, a short bullet point, you can then have a sentence or two talking about that skill or that experience that you had and how that can really directly benefit the employer.
Wait, is she?
I think she may have frozen, but we can keep going through the chat.
For sure.
Okay. I think she's a bit frozen. She's probably gonna come back, but
Okay, I'm here. I'm so sorry. Was that me?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. My biggest apologies. Here, I'll do this again. Sorry.
It's okay.
Or we can just we'll just go to the Q&A. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Would anyone like to pull it out? Because I lost my chat box. So whoever wants to answer, go ahead. I guess I'm just going to be left in the dust for now.
I think there's a really good question that some people were also wondering. So how did you guys end up choosing your university and program? What was your thought process and what made you choose a university compared to others? So maybe this goes out to all the panelists. So if anyone wants to start and then
I can start. So I was fortunate enough to be able to have the chance to visit the universities that I wanted to, and I know that probably wasn't a possibility for a lot of students this year, but there's things like this in place to help you get to know. But I definitely think campus life was one of the most important things for me. I wanted to be at a university that made me feel like home and that I felt comfortable spending, the next 4 years of my life at. Just getting a feel of the professors and the faculty staff there definitely helped me decide, and as well just where my program interests lied. So at McMaster, I chose McMaster for the wide range of research opportunities that it has, as well as the amazing faculty that they have there. So definitely look into both sides, not just academics, but also the campus life.
Awesome. Thank you, Neetu. Caitlin, I still don't have the question, so you're going to just have to take over for this part. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so I think when Miko asked tips and advice for looking and applying for scholarships, especially before senior year and high school starts. So if any of you guys have kind of looked into scholarships or any of these funding, any recommendations on how to get started, because there's a ton, how do they really work? Yeah, if anyone can speak on that.
Yeah, I can. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. No, Garvin, go for it.
Okay, Garvin.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for university, when you apply to university, they automatically consider you for entrance scholarship if you have a high GPA above a certain range of a GPA. They're gonna give you maybe $2,500 for maybe the maximum amount is $2,500, and maybe you can apply for maybe OSAP. They have both student loan and grant, so they're gonna give you grant and maybe scholarship. I don't know about scholarship, but a lot of my friends who apply for scholarship and they get quite a lot of amount of scholarship, like $80,000 for 4 years. Yeah. So, but it's yeah. You can look. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, I was just going to add, if you aren't from Ontario and can apply for OSAP, I'm pretty sure most like provinces, I'm from Alberta, I don't know about where you're from necessarily, but from each province in Canada, I'm pretty sure there will be some kind of government, not like government loan. I guess it's not necessarily scholarship, but sometimes the loan also includes the grant as well. So that the grant is like, the money you don't need to pay back. But anyway, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just dropping some links in the chat
Okay.
for everyone that are some popular scholarship websites that you can look at applying to that aren't school specific. And then like Garvin mentioned, a lot of the schools will have automatic improved scholarships that you can be considered for.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Awesome.
Can I
Okay.
say something as well about scholarship?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter.
Yeah, just speaking from international students, I know UBC for sure have international student scholarships in different faculties, and they actually pay very well. So all we need to do is pretty much write a short essay every year and just submit it to the committee, and they'll get reviewed. And yeah, there's not many people. I don't think many people knows about it, so it's a good thing that you look into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I know there's like a ton of international students, like regardless of whichever Canadian university. So that's also very, very helpful. Thank you so much. And then, yeah, so then another question we had was, how do you structure a university application? So maybe this is for students that are kind of early on, like in high school. How do university applications usually work? Like, I guess, is there like a written portion? Are there interviews? Maybe you guys can speak a bit about your experience applying to your programs. So do we want to start with Garvin?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know about other university, but for Western, you just fill out the application form. They basically have everything. You just fill in the blank for you. And for some faculty, you have to write a personal statement, which is like describe your personal experience that you have to express yourself to the faculty for the admission process. And that's it. It's really not anything complicated. You don't have to be like doing the application from scratch, or just fill in the blank.
Awesome. Anyone
Are
else?
there any more questions,
Have
Caitlin?
like a different experience? Okay. How about let's ask.
You can ask one more question, yeah.
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 I don't think anyone answered this one. So finance tips. So in terms of like paying for post-secondary without relying as much on student loans, part-time job scholarships. So I think what this person is asking is like, how do people usually like finance their education? What's the balance between like borrowing and maybe like finding a job and everything like that? Would you guys recommend maybe picking up a job during university? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is going to depend on the person and your personal situation, right? Like if you're someone that isn't comfortable taking a loan or isn't wanting to or needing to take on a loan, then maybe a job is the road to go. For me, I got a part-time job on campus as a residence tour guide, so I had the opportunity to literally basically show people my bedroom and talk about the building where I lived in. And that was something that was super flexible around my schedule, and I could work as much or as little as I want. So definitely check out, some on-campus job opportunities wherever you're going. Most of the opportunities to work on campus are going to be very flexible around your school schedule, maybe more so than places off campus if you were to go to work at a mall or a restaurant or something like that. So definitely take a look at some on-campus opportunities, whether it be doing tours or working at the student rec center or at the bookstore or any restaurants on campus, things like that.
Awesome. Okay, I think pretty much we can wrap up with one final question. I think this wasn't asked in the chat, but I think it's a good way to wrap it up. So what's one final piece of advice you'd give to either incoming first-year students or maybe like senior high school students about university and like careers or anything? Just like one final piece of advice. So let's start with maybe need to, and then we'll go down the line.
Yeah, so I think you've got 1 month left before you start university for most of you. If this is your situation, I definitely say take the time to discover yourself, discover your learning styles, discover your hobbies, your passions, because university is basically the time that you have all of the resources available to you to make all these things happen for yourself. So definitely look into what interests you, look into your passions, and find those things available on campus. That you can get involved in and find your learning styles so that you'll be able to do well in your classes at university too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super important to like find your passion and really like take the time to discover yourself, discover what you like. Because I think a lot of people, when they first come to university, they're like, oh, I would like this, or I'm interested in this, but it can obviously change, like we've talked about. So awesome. Matt?
Just keep on doing you, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, and don't let people tell you you're not doing enough or that you're never good enough, because everyone has a different path in life and everyone has different, end goals, and that might take you longer to get to where you want to be than for some other people, and that's okay. Finding the forks in your road as you're going along through your journey, you're going to hit bumps and you're going to see your highs and your lows, and it's those struggles and those dips in your journey that you're going to really learn from and grow from. And some of the like my quote unquote worst opportunities where I've had not great experiences, I've actually loved that I had those not great experiences, because they've given me opportunity to grow, whether it be being rejected from jobs or having conflicts with friends or coworkers. Those were great opportunities to learn more about myself and how I can improve as a person. And so just keep that in mind when you're going through the rest of the summer and the rest of your life.
I think in hindsight, right, a lot of things like in hindsight, it was for the better, or like you definitely learned a lot or added a lot to like your personal growth and development. So that's always very, very important. So awesome. Thank you for that. And Garvin, do you want to speak a bit about your final piece of advice?
Sure. So guys, university is one of like the most memorable experience for you guys in your life. And yeah, study well, but don't forget to have fun, guys. Like go to party, make friends, make connection. That will help you a lot. Like you'll feel less stressed aside from like schoolworks and all that. So guys, study well and have fun.
I totally agree. University, honestly, I think most people can agree university is going to be the best 4 years of your life, like no cap. So yeah. Okay, so is that
and then we have Peter, he's gonna
oh yeah, Peter, sorry, Peter.
This one's going to be more tailored to students who know exactly what they want to do. So very important to plan ahead. So if you know exactly what kind of program you want to get in, take a look at the required courses that you need to take your first year and second year, because I know a lot of people, when they know what they do but they didn't plan it well, and they're missing 1 or 2 required courses, which means that it's adding another year to your university life, which sometimes can be a good thing. But you're rushing to, you want to work right after you graduate, or you want to apply for grad school, then it's very good and very helpful right now to plan your courses ahead of time. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's very, very valid. And like, if you do especially know what you want to do, then obviously like you can kind of build those skills or build those like experiences early. So for example, like if you're in high school and you know you're interested in finance, then like you can start, tailoring your experiences and like clubs you're joining in high school, and your involvement towards like more finance related experiences, and that will really like set you apart and I guess get you a bit ahead of everyone else. But obviously if you don't know what you're doing, what to do, like that's also completely fine as well. But yeah, just keep doing you. Awesome. I think that's it, Agnes.
Okay, awesome. And then I'll just like conclude it. So yeah, so before we just end it, I just want to do a quick shout out. So there's something similar to LEAP, Pioneers of Tomorrow. They're also a student-led organization. However, they offer resources and just opportunities that can help students like yourselves find careers that are that really suit you guys. So they offer panels of industry professionals, skill-based webinars, and as well as career guidance. So definitely, if you want more information, check out their Instagram at Pioneers of Tomorrow, and definitely stay tuned for their panel coming up August 16th. So yeah, yeah, so that concludes our part 1 of the webinar. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you to our lovely panelists as well. If you guys would like to contact them, here are their social media plugs. They don't bite, so yeah, so they would definitely connect with them. And I think that's pretty much it. Okay, awesome. That concludes. Thank you guys so much for having me as host. And I'm going to transfer this on to Chloe, who's going to take over part 2 of the webinar for McMaster University. Oh yeah, and here are upcoming webinars. Almost done. And then, yeah, I'm going to transfer it to Chloe for McMaster. Thank you guys so much for attending, and thank you to the amazing panelists. Thank you guys.